I recently sat down to watch HBO's Harry Potter 20-year reunion, and aside from all the nostalgia and emotion seeing all the cast again, one thing really stayed with me. And it was the realization that amongst all these amazing characters, including the titular Harry Potter himself, one character really stood out for me, and that is Severus Snape. Over the course of 8 films and 10 years on screen, we see this mysterious and villainous character develop into an unsung and underappreciated hero in what is one of the most complex character arcs in cinema. Let's unpack why. Right from the Philosopher's Stone, Severus Snape is immediately established as an outcast and a villain. He's known as a sadistic potions master, and we never really know what his motives are. Throughout the entire series, he floats in and out of the underlying mischief that the Golden Trio, Harry, Hermione and Ron, get themselves into, and we never think much of it, passed off as a measly side character within this wizarding world. In The Half-Blood Prince, this is amplified when we see he makes the unbreakable vow to protect Draco and shockingly kills Dumbledore. Now Snape is cemented as a dark character with no hope of redemption when he sides with the Dark Lord and is ultimately killed for it. At the last moment, he passes on the vital information Harry needs, as well as the truth that has been hiding this whole time. Despite being a repentant Death Eater, a neglected child, and a bullied schoolboy, after all this time, Severus Snape has been a spy acting out of the unrequited love he has for Lily Potter, sacrificing himself for the greater good. Throughout all the films, Severus has always been acting in the best interests of Lily, seeking to protect Harry at all costs. In The Philosopher's Stone, he spies on Professor Quirrell, stopping him from getting to the stone and protecting Harry from being cursed at Quidditch. In The Prisoner of Azkaban, he protects Harry from Lupin, despite being cast a spell on just earlier. In the Order of the Phoenix, he slows down Umbridge, giving Harry a fake serum to not be interrogated, and contacts the Order of the Phoenix to save Sirius Black.
He's got Padfoot at the place where it's hidden.
No idea.
He also gives Harry occlumency lessons to help him block Voldemort from his mind.
Control your emotions. Discipline your mind.
In The Half-Blood Prince, he signals Harry to be silent to make the agreed plan occur as intended with Dumbledore, and later protects Draco and Harry from the Death Eaters by getting them to leave the castle. He even is called a coward by Harry, who casts spells at him.
You coward, fight back!
Where Severus only deflects his attacks. Here, Snape is being screamed at by the very person he has been protecting, and we can see Alan Rickman wearing all these emotions in his performance. And finally, in the Deathly Hallows, he suggests to Mundungus to use decoys for Harry to get to the Burrows, and later puts a fake sword of Gryffindor in Bellatrix Lestrange's vault, where he then uses a Patronus to help Harry find the real one in a lake. He later has to fight against Professor McGonagall, and we can see his slight hesitation. Finally, he ensures Voldemort thinks he's the true owner of the Elder Wand, even though it means his own death, before giving his memories to Harry and revealing the truth. Harry doesn't really even react to his death at the time, nor do Hermione and Ron, and even after viewing Snape's memories, he doesn't seem to be emotional in the slightest. Yet years later, Harry calls him the bravest man he's ever known, and even names his son after him.
You were named after 2 headmasters of Hogwarts. One of them was a Slytherin, and he was the bravest man I've ever known.
Why is this? What did Harry come to realize all those years later? When we finally get to see Snape's memories, we see a tortured boy who struggled to fit in, but made a friend in Lily. He was severely bullied at Hogwarts, especially by James Potter, and tragically, Severus and Lily go their separate ways, where Severus was put in Slytherin before becoming a Death Eater. However, one thing we don't see from the books is that James Potter actually saved Snape one night when Lupin had transformed into a werewolf. And this is why he feels in debt to James Potter, despite hating everything he has done to him. This adds further complexity to Snape's character when we see he's repented from being a Death Eater and tries to hide Harry and Neville Longbottom from Voldemort.
I beg you.
Only for Lily to die by protecting Harry. Snape looks upon the only person he's ever had a connection to, and the only person he's ever loved, tragically dead, and we see the misery he endures in the process.
Always.
In the books, Dumbledore says, if you truly loved her, then make sure it was not in vain. And we hear this in the film slightly also.
If you truly loved her.
This is the reason why Snape protects Harry for all these years. To add to this, we see that Severus's Patronus was the same as Lily Potter's, a doe, showing that Severus has always loved her. What's even more noteworthy is the fact that Severus perseveres for 17 years for Lily, despite having no one to encourage him or support him. He's a lone hero. Lily is gone and her son is a disappointing image of his father James, who Snape thought was lazy, arrogant, and spoilt. Dumbledore, as we see, makes continual demands on Severus, and so too the Order of the Phoenix never really trusts him. Even in the year he acts as headmaster of Hogwarts, he has to be aware that everyone around him despises him deeply, and yet he still risks his life on a daily basis for Harry, so that Lily didn't die in vain. What amplifies the character of Severus Snape is the late Alan Rickman's performance as well. Notably, writer J.K. Rowling had told Rickman where Severus Snape's character arc was going before all the movies had even been released.
And she gave me one small piece of information that was just a very small, and it certainly wasn't, and this will happen, and then that will happen, and this is how it finishes. I never knew any of that. But it was a small piece of information that let me know that there was more to him than met the eye.
Can you share what that was?
No. So I promised her I never would.
Okay.
And I never have.
She gave him a small hint that helped him better understand who Snape was. But when we see him on screen, despite not being in the films for that long, you can see how much complexity and weight Rickman is able to pack into each scene. In the reunion, we even hear that some of the film's directors and actors questioned why Rickman approached scenes in a certain way. Ultimately, Severus Snape is a highly original character who's portrayed as an antisocial villain for 7 films before finally being revealed as a selfless and brave man who risked his life out of the unrequited love he had for Lily Potter for 10 years. This is what Harry realized all those years later. It takes just 6 minutes and 40 seconds to completely change who Severus is once we see his memories, and to take his 10-year character arc to a level of complexity and emotion that remains iconic to this day, especially because of Rickman's portrayal. And this is why I believe Severus Snape is not only one of the most fascinating and memorable characters in the Harry Potter series, but one of the most complex character arcs in cinema. Thanks for watching this episode of Cinemaze. If you enjoyed it, hit the like button and let me know what you thought down in the comments. Also, please let me know which characters you would like me to do next.